Best Western has a long history in the United States, and as people are getting back out on the road and getting back to travel, could it be one of the hotel chains that benefits? Let's ask David Kong. He is Best Western president and CEO. He is joining us today from Arizona, from Phoenix, Arizona. David, thank you for joining us. What are you seeing in terms of travel patterns right now? And it's my understanding you have about 2,000 hotels in the United States. It's my understanding these are licensed, right? You don't own the hotels outright, but what are you hearing from your licensees and franchisees?
Well, first of all, thank you, Julie. I appreciate you having me. Since Memorial Weekend, we've seen a pretty good recovery. Bear in mind that the week of April the 12th, the industry was down by more than 80% in revenue. It was pretty dramatic. The effects have been about 10 times worse than 9/11. But since Memorial Weekend, we've seen a pretty good recovery, although we had a resurgence of the virus, and then we had new restrictions being imposed by states and cities that have compromised our recovery. So at this time, the industry is still down by about 40% in revenue. Best Western is doing slightly better because we have a very broad and diverse locations, and we have very different types of hotels and resorts and seaside areas and places that people like to go and feel comfortable going these days, and that are drive locations. So our company is doing better than the industry, but I'm really concerned about the future because fall is coming, and that's traditionally when leisure business slows down dramatically and is replaced by meetings and convention business. And as we all know, this pandemic has dramatically compromised that segment. And then winter is traditionally a very slow period for the hotel industry. So I'm concerned about the future.
So, Mr. Kong, what would, if Congress were to get involved, what would it look like? Because like with the airlines, I don't want to say it was easy, but you had essentially several, maybe 10 carriers. You knew exactly what was happening there. In this business model, you have several different hotels, franchisees, big, small. What would this look like?
Adam, you hit the nail on the head. The industry is very diverse, and unlike the airline industry dominated by a few players, we have many different brands, many different owners, and many different operators. So the needs are somewhat different. However, all of us are in the same boat at this time because the industry is so severely challenged. And Oxford Economics forecasts that the industry is going to be down in revenue by 50%. That's a dramatic drop. It's equivalent to about $124 billion in revenue. So we're all in the same boat. At this time, you got to consider that our industry is different than most small businesses. We have a very expensive cost structure. You have the land, you have the building, you have furniture, fixture, equipment. The debt service, the real estate taxes are far higher than most small businesses. So Congress has to please realize that for our industry, the needs are very different. And like some of the proposals that are out there that would extend the PPP and provide more funding through PPP, because that's a much easier process than the Main Street Lending Program.
David, Dan Roberts here. While we have you, just want to make sure that we ask about Airbnb and its ongoing impact on traditional hotel chains like yours. That company apparently planning to go public this month, even though it has really been hammered by the pandemic, reportedly had its bookings down 70% in Q2, but Airbnb trying to go public. What effect will that have on your industry? What effect does it continue to have with where young people choose to stay when they do start traveling again?
Yeah, Airbnb has had an impact on our industry since it came to being. And they basically made, they had very good marketing campaigns. They talk about the local experience. That's how they set themselves apart from VRBO and HomeAway and all these other players that have been around for a long time. They made it sound like fun to stay at homes rather than hotels. And it will have an impact on our industry. In the major cities, there have been many different reports reporting that the impact is anywhere from 3 to 10%. So it will continue to have an impact on our industry. But the contrast here is most of the hotels in the United States are branded, and You probably heard of the American Hotel Lodging Association Safe Stay program, where we have enhanced the cleaning protocols and safety measures. So all the major hotel brands have implemented that, and people should feel very safe and secure and comfortable staying at major hotels, such as Best Western. So that's a little different than Airbnb that is not regulated and also does not provide the same reassurance.
Well, speaking of the AHLA, there's a new report out today that nearly 1 out of every 4 hotel chains and their loans, they actually were delinquent on their payments. When you think about even the letter to Congress that I think 4,000 of your industry peers have signed, I think about 112 of them were actually Best Western franchisees. How closely in communication are you with them to really help restructure their leases, to try to figure out a way to just stay afloat, never mind thrive in this environment?
I am actually very, very concerned, as I said earlier, about the next 6 months or so. And the fact of the matter is PPP money has been exhausted. The loan forbearance, the temporary loan forbearance is running out also. And businesses continues to be soft and will get even softer. So it is a real crisis. Just imagine all these hotels, primarily small businesses, not able to meet their debt service. What's going to happen to those loans? What's going to happen to those hotels? What's going to happen to the lending institutions? And you think about the CMBS loans, for example, what's going to happen to the investors that are left holding that paper? So Congress really needs to act urgently and make the right decision to provide the necessary lending or relief for our industry. It's dire.
David, finally, I wanted to ask you about a recent report in the New York Times about migrants being detained by a private security company at several hotels across the United States, including one Best Western location in Los Angeles. And I know some hotel chains do have policies regarding the housing of migrants. I wondered if Best Western does, and if that particular franchisee is at any risk of losing his or her license as a result of that happening.
Right. So first of all, let me just say the American Hotel Lodging Association had made a point that hotels are not built or equipped to handle this type of situation, and we shouldn't be housing, ICE detainees or anything of that nature. And I totally agree with that. Our company does have standards, and we plan to look into the situation that was just brought to my attention yesterday. So we're in the process of looking at it.
David, thank you so much for your wide-ranging comments here, and best of luck to you in this tough time for travel. David Kong is Best Western CEO and President. Thank you again for your time, sir.